This week on the Brody File, road trip, destination, North Dakota. Boom go the oil fields, and boom goes the economy too. We investigate.
This is not a boom that's going to fizzle in 3 or 4 or 5 years. This is going to be a long time, a 30-year boom.
Also, going after the unchurched in the Dakotas, the church lady reports. And one-on-one at home, on the range, with GOP up-and-comer Kristi Noem.
I am 100% convinced that God created me to be a mom, and that every other job that I have or duty that I have is just extra things that He's put on my plate.
Buckle up, everybody. We're on the road in North Dakota, and the Brody File is on location. Next. And welcome everybody to the Brody File. Clearly we're not in Washington, D.C. Would I be dressed like this in the stuffy old studio? Clearly not. We are in Western North Dakota on an active oil rig site. There are about 180 or so of these in the entire state. But here in Western North Dakota, this is the oil boom, folks. I mean, this is where the wealth is happening. This is where all of the economic possibilities are happening. And so we decided to come out here to explore exactly what life is like out here, especially for families that are looking to improve their situation in life. History books tell us about the famous California gold rush in the 1800s when people headed west to strike it rich. Well, welcome to Western North Dakota, where an oil rush is on for people like Curtis Hansel.
This is not a boom that's going to fizzle in 3 or 4 or 5 years. This is going to be a long time, a 30-year boom.
This big boom covers more than 200,000 square miles in the Bakken oil fields. Now, this isn't a Beverly Hillbilly strike because the oil is actually in underground rock. New drilling technology called fracking means that the roughly 170 billion barrels of crude oil can now be unearthed. Oil production has zoomed up 600% in the last 7 years, putting North Dakota as the second largest oil-producing state in the nation, behind only Texas. Well, we are here on an active oil rig in the Bakken oil fields of Western North Dakota. There are about 180 or so oil rigs here in the state. And one reason many families are coming specifically here to the western part of the state is because of all of the economic possibilities. In many oil operations, workers keep their family and home in another state. But in this case, many families choose to live here permanently. Curtis Hansel left his Utah real estate job and brought his family here 2 years ago.
I realized that this was an opportunity to get in on the cusp of something that I think will be good for us in the long run.
It's been good for the Hansel family and many others. The average oil worker out here makes $112,000. Beginners start at $66,000. And even those not in the oil business are making more. The population increase means more demand. So the local McDonald's and Walmart are hiring workers starting at $14 an hour. And many times they add a healthy signing bonus just for agreeing to work there. On the other end of the scale, the number of North Dakota millionaires has climbed rapidly. Last year, the state ranked 43rd in millionaire households. Now, they're up to 29th on the list and climbing.
We have been able to live very comfortably, enjoy some things, for instance, vacations, those kinds of things, and still put a good chunk of money away for the future.
And there's more good economic news here. A staggering low 3% unemployment rate. 75,000 jobs created in the past few years, and a state economy growing at 5 times the national average. All of this has led to some growing pains, however. Dennis Johnson is mayor of Dickinson, a town where the oil boom has been a mixed blessing.
The majority of the people, probably somewhere around 60 to 70%, are positively impacted by the oil development. But there's probably a minority of 30 to 40% that it's a negative impact.
Take housing, for example. Demand is so great that 2-bedroom apartments that used to rent for $500, they're now going for close to $2,500.
It's increased our housing costs quite a bit, and I feel sorry for people that don't have the big oil jobs.
And the increase in people has led to more crime, especially among the young single men hoping to strike it rich.
It's a scary place out here for women. And when girls come out here now, they think it's flattering like I did when I first got out here. And I very quickly reassure them that it's not, and they need to be very careful because these guys they'll take advantage of you.
There's no doubt this Bakken oil field area has challenges, but for Curtis Hansel and families like his, the positives surely outweigh the negatives.
If we do our part, that God will take care of us. And we've had to put that to the test a number of times, and so I don't want to make it sound like it's routine, but for my wife and I, it was just another challenge.
That challenge is proving fruitful for the thousands striking it rich in the oil fields of North Dakota. And one of the folks in the piece was Curtis Hansel. Oh, and look, here he is. How are you, Curtis? Good to see you.
Good, happy to be here, David.
All right.
You look nice in the suit.
Well, thank you so much. It's my new fashion statement
I like
here.
it.
It's my Western North Dakota look. With Fort Berthold Services Safety Officer Curtis Hansel. All right, Curtis, tell me about you're in Utah selling real estate, and my goodness, here you are in an active oil rig with your family out here. Tell me about what that process has been like for you.
Amazing. If you'd have told me 2 years ago that I'd be standing on site on an active oil rig in North Dakota, I would have told you you're nuts. But here we are. Things were a little slow selling real estate. We knew we had to make some changes. Saw an opportunity here, came up, checked it out, saw that there was so much going on up here that we just had to do something, take advantage of that. Family was a little hesitant at first, as sometimes they are, but it's been a good experience.
The folks out here, let's just cut straight to the chase.
Mm-hmm.
They can make a boatload of money, can't they?
A lot of money.
Can't they? What's that been like? Not, I mean, just for the folks out here. I mean, it really is life changing.
It really is. It really is. North Dakota has a lot of rolling green prairies, but a lot of green financial pastures as well. So you'll see that, and you really need to get up here and take a look at what's up here, because anybody who has any entrepreneurial spirit or a good work ethic is going to make money up here. There's a lot of money to be made.
So let me ask you, so is the deal that the provider, kind of the man of the family, kind of comes out here and takes a look, and then the family a lot of times follows afterwards? Is that how it kind of works sometimes here?
That's what we've seen. Usually, one of the challenges we're facing with the boom, of course, is the housing. Mm-hmm. And so housing can be difficult to obtain and quite pricey, but usually the man or the provider will come up, take a look around, see what he sees, and then either find a way to bring his family up here, or a lot of companies like ours is accommodating with a rotating schedule that allows them to work up here for a period of time and then spend time with their family as well.
Interesting. Earlier we were talking about kind of God's hand in all of this. Is pretty remarkable. Tell me about how you felt like the Lord leading you to come out here.
Oh, absolutely. We are where we're supposed to be, and we feel that. My wife and I both feel that. Our children are now realizing that, seeing things that are taking shape in our lives. One of the challenges, of course, of acting on faith is actually doing the action part. And the prayer part is easy, but when it comes to the revelation of where you should be and then acting on that, sometimes takes a leap of faith. And that leap has really paid off for us here in North Dakota.
Very nice. Well, Curtis, a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right.
You.
Curtis Hansel, folks. All right, look, when we come back, we're moving away from the active oil rig. We're going to go down to Dickinson, North Dakota, about an hour and a half or so south of here, still in the oil boom territory, but we're going to be talking about another thing that has gone boom and not good for the Obama administration. That's right, Obamacare. And we'll explain how it affects folks here in North Dakota when we come back. And welcome back, everybody, to the Brody File. We are in Dickinson, North Dakota. That is about an hour south of where we just were on that active oil rig up in the Badlands out in Western North Dakota. Now look, I gotta tell you, we have been all over this state. I mean, we have been to Fargo, North Dakota. We've been stalking corn. You know, the Brody File likes to stalk. We're always in full stalking mode, where we were stalking corn in North Dakota. We've also been to Cooperstown, North Dakota, about 4 hours from here or so. And we met one woman who is living an Obamacare horror story, and it's not just her and her premium that has shot up. It's also her husband's premium that's going up, and they're trying to figure out what to do.
What I'm paying right now is like $200 a month, so that's more than likely going to double if I'm responsible for another 20%. So that's a significant increase. It'll be, $2,400 over the course of a year, less that I'm bringing home because it's taken out of my paycheck. So yeah, it is going to affect us. Honestly, I was expecting it. With everything else that I'd heard about Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act, I did expect it. But But I think I kind of felt sick to my stomach is what it came down to. The money's got to come from somewhere. You know, if we need to cut back on, I don't know, my son's college account or, you know, our savings or something, we're going to have to pay for it. And so the first thing that I did was I went on to the Obamacare website and tried to see, okay, if this is so great, show me what you have, just to see what they had. And so I typed in all the numbers to kind of get an estimate on what it would cost us. And of course, for my husband alone, the premium would be lower than what we were originally told. But it's still going to be $100 more than what he's paying now. And the deductible is going to be twice as much. If Obama wants to have this plan for the people who weren't insured or who did have pre-existing conditions and were denied health insurance, I'm fine with that. But don't take away the plan that I have, because I was completely happy with it. And I'm okay with a Swiss cheese type plan, like they keep calling it, because I don't need the coverage that they're offering.
He said time and time again, if you like your doctor, you can keep it.
It was a lie. It was a lie. There's millions of Americans all over the country. Just turn on the news. You know, it's really sad. And this is only the beginning, I'm afraid.
Well, we wish all the best to Brooke Fredrickson and her husband. All right, when we roll on from Dickinson, North Dakota, how do you save the unchurched around Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and all up and down the Midwest along the I-29 corridor? The Southern Baptists are coming to the rescue. That story when we continue. And welcome back here to the Brody File. We are in Dickinson, North Dakota. Now look, we can't just come to North Dakota and not do all of the Dakotas. We were also in South Dakota. That's right, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And believe me, we did some driving to get there. 6 hours, well, quite frankly, almost 7 hours to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. But there's a great story there. The church lady, Tracy Winborn, on the scene there as she talked to Southern Baptists who are actually trying to save folks because they are pretty much unchurched in that area. Here's Tracy on that.
That's right, David. Southern Baptist leaders say the I-29 corridor along the Midwest represents one of the most unreached people groups in the country. That's why they've launched a new initiative called the Heartland Interstate Strategy. Their plan includes planting more evangelical churches in 7 hub cities and then spreading the gospel into more remote areas. I sat down with the organizers of this movement, and here's what they told me.
One of the heartbeats of Southern Baptist life is that we have a tremendous history of a desire for evangelism and missions, and a tremendous desire historically to work together to get it done. And so tapping into that basic DNA of Southern Baptist life.
We wondered if we could take the strength of Missouri particularly and come straight up I-29 into the major cities, St. Joseph, Omaha, Sioux City, Sioux Falls, Fargo, Grand Forks, and then all the way to Great Falls, and then even to Winnipeg, and press up I-29, strengthen those churches that are already along the interstate, and then press east and west to plant new churches in those areas that were underrepresented among evangelical churches.
There's no one way to plant a church. And so every story, there's no wrong tactic. Some of them work or don't work depending on how you measure it, what your metric is for what a successful church is. But we really started, our passion came from the book of Acts. And so we wanted to be a part of a biblical church. We wanted to see the gospel go out in an area that maybe had either been impervious to it or completely unaffected by it.
Now, the Heartland Interstate Strategy is still in the building phase. They plan to do a major launch by the fall. In the meantime, they're asking for prayer that the Lord would raise up the right people and give them strength and wisdom. That's all for the church lady for now. David, back to you.
All right, when we come back, Kristi Noem, one-on-one. She's a congresswoman, she's authentic, she loves Jesus, and she means business. Back in a moment. And welcome back, everybody, to the Brody File here in Dickinson, North Dakota. Now, we want to travel to Castlewood, South Dakota. Not North Dakota, South Dakota. That's right, I tell you, we've been doing a lot of driving. About 6 hours or so from here, Kristi Noem lives there with her husband and her kids. It's their ranch, and we had a chance to speak with her. She really is an up-and-coming congresswoman. She is one of the freshman leaders, at least back in 2010 when she joined Congress 2 years ago. And there's a lot of folks that are very much interested in what she's going to do in the future because she has a lot of potential. And we were struck by what an interesting journey she's had. And here's some of that interview.
It's all native ground. It's never been broken.
Home on the range, the place where Kristi Noem feels total peace. An ordinary mom on her South Dakota farm. A world away from her Capitol Hill duties in Washington, D.C.
I am 100% convinced that God created me to be a mom, and that every other job that I have or duty that I have is just extra things that He's put on my plate.
Those extra things have kept her busy since her election to Congress in 2010. She's clearly a GOP up-and-comer and made big news from the beginning.
Representative-elect Kristi Noem is going to get the opportunity as a freshman to be part of the House GOP leadership. That is a huge honor, folks.
Now at the Republican leadership table, Noem communicates the party's message to all Americans.
The president claims to be leading us forward, but his policies have us stuck.
She also represents the large Tea Party contingent that surprised Washington with major wins in 2010.
It wasn't my job to sit at that table and only tell them what Kristi thought. It was my job to sit there and let them know what every other member of my class thought.
And as one of the few Republican females in Congress, she also takes the lead against the so-called GOP war on women storyline.
We've got to be willing to be brave enough to get out there on the airwaves and push back on it.
Noem knows a thing or two about pushing back and taking charge. Life as a simple farm girl meant hard work, attending rodeos, and singing at church. She gave her young life to the Lord at Bible school, and then, while in college, she received heartbreaking news. Her father died in a tragic farming accident.
When he passed away, my whole life changed.
She felt lost, no longer able to go to her dad.
I remember laying in bed that night, not even knowing how we were going to do tomorrow, because if we had a problem in our lives, if we didn't know what to do, Dad always knew. I sat up for several nights. I didn't sleep for about a week and just read my Bible.
And this woman of the prairie got tough, left college early, and came home to run the family farm. Ironically, her first crisis came in the form of an estate tax bill from the IRS for thousands of dollars.
That was one of the things that got me interested in government and policy, was seeing that we had our family operation almost destroyed because of bad tax policy.
So after attending to the family farm, she entered local South Dakota politics and graduated to Washington, where she's currently working on a crucial farm bill.
I rise today to talk about the importance of getting a farm bill done this year.
Even though Kristi, the congresswoman, pushes for conservative policy, as a believer in Jesus Christ, she's got something even bigger on her mind.
God kind of taught me a lesson through the several months that I was there right away, that, you know, He placed me there, yes, to work on policy, but maybe my biggest job was going to be to minister to individuals.
Noem says she spends her time not just trying to change minds on policy, but trying to change hearts as an effective witness in a city with desperate needs.
And the way that He's going to fix this country may be by changing people's hearts and getting them more geared towards Him. And that's the quickest way we're going to get stuff done.
God did business with her too, softening her heart toward President Obama, specifically during one of his State of the Union addresses.
And felt my heart get hardened. I felt God really convicted me. The way that I was praying or the way that I was feeling wasn't accurate, that what I needed to be doing more was praying for the president. My whole perspective changed, and I felt a real conviction lay heavy on my shoulders about the way I was praying, and that God couldn't possibly use me until I started to pray how He had called me to pray.
There's no doubt God always had a plan for Noem's life, even in high school.
The South Dakota Snow Queen.
Oh my goodness, you brought that up.
Well, look, there's a thing called the internet, and I do research.
You got that? Oh my goodness, yes. The
yes.
South Dakota Snow Queen. In my defense, in high school, every girl in high school did the Snow Queen event. But boy, what a good training ground for giving speeches about the wonderful things in South Dakota.
And how about one more wonderful blessing? Remember how she had to leave college early after her dad died? Well, last year, as a sitting congresswoman, she finally got her degree after her sister insisted.
She just said, you know, I'm surprised you never finished your college degree because you never quit anything.
It's no wonder that her steadfast determination and strong conservative backbone have people comparing her to Sarah Palin.
I think Sarah and I probably would get along if we ever got the chance to meet each other. But I do think that I just want to be Kristi because if there's any other agenda there, I don't think that God will be able to use me how He wants to.
God is certainly using her in D.C. and also back at the farm. Kristi Noem here on the Brody File. All right, when we come back, an oy vey moment of the week that has us looking behind our back, looking out for the bacon burglar. Back in a moment. And welcome back, everybody, to the Brody File here in Dickinson, North Dakota. All right, look, I mean, we're here in North Dakota, so we have to come up with some sort of oy vey moment of the week that is North Dakota related, and boy, did we find one, and I gotta tell you, it tastes pretty good. Well, meet the bacon burglar. That's right. A guy in Bismarck, North Dakota, walks into a woman's home. Woman's about 30 years old, and he robs her. But before robbing her, he actually, I kid you not, cooks bacon. That's right. He cooked bacon and then left. Still on the loose, by the way. So who knows if he's going to ever be caught? But he is officially the bacon burglar of Bismarck, North Dakota. And I kid you not, there have been other bacon burglars apparently in other states, but here in North Dakota, they are looking for the bacon burglar. Who knows? We'll have to bring you an update as soon as we find out whether or not he's been caught or not. All right, that does it here for the Brody File from Dickinson, North Dakota. But before we leave you, we must show you some of the sights and sounds of our beautiful road trip. Sights and sounds of North Dakota. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Until next time, God bless. Have a great week.